All right, we're back here on the show. Liquid Lunch is me, Hugh Sanders here, and we've got Delanova Star Livingston of Uversa. That's the whole name, right, Delanova?
That's a big name.
Uversa is 95 billion light years from here. And Nirvana is a satellite. Nirvana you hear about in Buddhistic teachings.
Right.
It's the portal to the inner creation for the evolution. And right now my higher soul atom is stationed on Nirvana. And I'm down here in the trenches.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily doing a marvelous job, but I'm at least trying hard.
Well, we're just having a conversation.
Same
here
as
today.
everybody on the planet. There you go.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you got the book here, The Revelatorium, which is, as you say, you're the wordsmith, not necessarily the author, but in the same sense that John the Divine
was the wordsmith, not the author.
Of Revelations.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
I mean, we got so much to talk about. You wanted to get into the 18 dimensions right off the top.
Let me, I can go 15 different ways. I just want to say one thing because it's part of the dimension thing. You said that there's a quantum leap between this dimension and the fifth.
Yes.
Very, very big understatement. 100% correct, but a very big understatement because the fifth dimension is the bottom line of creation. Normally, there's nobody in the fourth and the third dimensions throughout the universe.
So there's normally
There's
nobody.
nobody in the third dimension or the fourth dimension.
When you say nobody, you mean like humans?
People.
Okay.
Yeah, there's sometimes animal evolutions and so on for therapeutic or
So
perturbation.
what the heck are we doing here?
Well, that's the thing, and I'll just jump to that real fast and then
Okay.
go back. The Adamics, who are the Asian race, are the 12th and last root race of the Earth. There's been 12 root races come through starting 250 million years ago, about every 20 million years. The Adamics were the last to finish, and they were the ones that were to do two things. They're to seed the new day of creation, which you're asking me about the new day, Delanova, the Adamics were to seed that in Andromeda, but also 250,000 years from now, they would unite in consciousness. This is all in the fifth dimension, okay? They would unite in consciousness, teleport Earth to the womb of Orion, which is that nebula area just down the... So it's actually a stellar nursery. It's called the womb of Orion. And Earth will become a photostar, and then eventually will become a quasar, and will pipe energy for the new creation into Andromeda, where the new creation is, the bifurcation point is off. This universe is starting off in Andromeda. So that's a whole lot right there. Okay.
I was just going to say, I mean, I don't know what to say.
Well, this is new. See, here's the thing. This is not in any of the literature because this is the new stuff. The stuff in the Revelations wasn't anywhere in any of the literatures. And it was actually prepared in an emergency because Christ was supposed to have walked the planet in his bestowal 2,000 years ago. He was supposed to walk 1,000 years as an avatar. That was the original plan. Christ, Jesus.
Okay, you know what? You just answered my question because I was just going to ask, who was Jesus Christ?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so is this Revelatorium, which is your book? Is this like the new Revelations?
Yeah, correct. But it's a step beyond because we're now, everybody knows we've just come from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age.
Okay.
Most people don't know what that means.
Yeah,
we know it's the age.
Dispensations are 2,000-year periods in which a new energy is released.
Okay.
All right. The Piscean age, which just finished, was the Piscean dispensation, 2,000 years. The Aquarian age that we're just coming into is the Aquarian dispensation for the next 2,000 years.
Okay. Okay.
And the Aquarian age or dispensation, every time it comes around, well, let me have to set that one up. The dispensations, 2,000-year cycles follow exactly the same astrophysical frequencies as the sun signs. They're one and the same because it isn't all over the map. The intelligent design is very, very simple, very, very specific. It's the same here, it's the same there, it's the same 200 trillion light years from now. It's always the same, okay? So we have the 12 sun signs, which are a month apart through the year. They progress clockwise, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Dispensations are 2,000-year periods. And they run counterclockwise through the series. So we've come out of Pisces, we're into Aquarius, 2,000 years from now we're facing Capricorn. And now this is the interesting thing. Every time during, so that makes a 25,000-year cycle, all right? 2012, December 21st, nothing happened. The scientists all laughed their head off because it was a big boo-hoo. But it was a humongous event because the last 25,000-year period ended and the new 25,000-year cycle began.
Okay.
Okay,
But we
that
didn't
was-
feel anything, right?
Yeah, everybody that's got anything going at all is feeling a lot of stuff
Right, but
going
in
on
terms
there.
of in terms of a physical change.
Well, yes, that too. You'll feel, some people will be feeling tired. Some people, interesting. Some people are hearing buzzing in their ears now all the time. It's
But
not-
everybody talked about this big change down and over. Like
well,
everybody
this,
talked.
okay, well, that's
Right.
this is one of the big changes that's
Okay,
going on.
okay.
One of the really big changes going on. We've now just stepped into Aquarius. Galactic law, the 144,000 energy principles of galactic law will be introduced into the consciousness. The Aquarius is called the outpouring of the waters of truth, i.e. the great book being opened at last, i.e. the great cosmic truth being revealed, blah, blah, blah. The next 2,000 years, the consciousness is going to be expanding, and at the end of Aquarius, man's going to be back in the fifth dimension where they belong. There will no longer be anybody on the third dimension. The principle of when the eyes glaze over, the interview's over. You ever
See,
heard that?
no, my eyes. No, I'm not.
So you.
I'm
Well,
not glazing over at
no,
all.
you're just catching a fly.
I got a million questions. I'm listening to every word. So please continue.
I can see
It's
there's a question marks changing place up. But anyway, to
Yeah.
finish, the principle of Capricorn that we'll be coming to next is the gate of life and gate of death. Every one of the signs have a principle. Pisces anchors the law. Jesus set the law in motion and anchored it 2,000 years ago. Aquarius brings through the law. Capricorn is the gate of life and gate of death. So you know when the final judgment is.
when is it?
2,000 years from now, facing Aquarius, you're either there or you're not.
Okay, so what are we going to do in the next 2,000 years?
You're going to be expanding in consciousness. You're going to be incarnating in and out, in and out, in and out, but you'll be expanding in consciousness all the time. People are already starting to get, into pretty good levels of the fourth dimension. Some people are already starting to touch on the fifth.
So where's Jesus right now?
Jesus is up there right now as we speak. He's back. Now, not as Jesus. Jesus was just like you and me. It was an incarnation.
Right.
Christ Michael of Christ Michael of Nebudon, who is a paradisical son-daughter, okay, is the creator son-daughter of this local universe of 1,000. All of the universe is built up of building blocks of 1,000 galaxies called local universes. When they talk about millions of parallel universes, well, there are, but not in the sense of that it's not like this universe is the same as this, except you have a red hat instead of a yellow hat. The frequencies of each local universe are different. They're created for a specific purpose. But they were created and are brought together and are managed by, supervised, and run by paradisical son-daughters, creator son-daughters.
What is creator son-daughter?
Creator son-daughters are, they represent the whole, and I'm going to get to the Holy Trinity. We got, but the Holy Trinity works through the creator son-daughters in the local universes who have seen me, has seen the Father. That's what Jesus
Is this
was
where
saying
we have the
2,000
gender
years ago.
difference as well? Is it like a son?
Well, let's go to the Holy Trinity now, because this is the key to the
okay.
whole thing. The whole intelligent design and creation is based on this fact. The Holy Trinity is not the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Okay? That doesn't tell you much. It's actually a father, a mother, and a son-daughter. That's a slash son-daughter.
So father,
together.
mother, and a son-daughter.
It's the family principle. Exactly is the same here as a family principle. As above, so below. As above, so below in all respects. All right? The attribute of the Father is intelligence. The electromagnetic visible spectrum equivalent is red. The attribute of the mother is substance, and the attribute substance, and the electromagnetic visible equivalent is yellow. That's what you're seeing, red, yellow, and then blue is the
son-daughter?
Energy of the son-daughter. Now, the father's principle is will. The mother's is desire. When they unified in consciousness to be able to beget the only begotten son and daughter, they did that because in that unification, a third consciousness was created called the only begotten son daughter. And out of the magnetics of their original, I'm going to get to this in the 18th dimension, they were able to extract a new principle called energy. And now you have energy, intelligence, and substance. That's all there is. And with that, they were able to start creating outer manifestations of themselves, which we call creation. So the basic, the Holy Trinity is big stuff. All right. The Father is called Alpha. That's the name been given. This is the Revelatorium of Alpha and Omega. That was in the Revelations. The last page of the Revelation said, I am Alpha and Omega.
Okay,
Beginning
Alpha
and
Omega.
Okay. And nobody ever says, oh, who the heck are they? Well,
beginning and end.
yeah, Father
okay.
and Mother.
So Mother's Omega?
Omega.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I don't call it the principle of the Father is will. The principle of the Mother is desire. When you have when you have will and desire equally met because they united in equality to create the Holy Trinity, then energy is begotten to finish the job that you planned and then desired to do.
Okay.
If that's not met properly, then the energy isn't properly and it doesn't get fulfilled properly. But that's the same. They're building creation the same way that you sit down and build a toy. It's exactly the same. The will and the desire equally met. There's the energy. The job gets done.
Okay.
So back to Jesus.
Okay.
Right? There's the root race evolution. We were talking about the Adamics, normally in the fifth dimension. All right, but there was a very heavy perturbation occurred 5 billion years ago. It was called the Luciferian self-will rebellion of the cosmic overplus.
What the heck was that all about?
Well, that's the thing. Everybody's heard about Lucifer, but they haven't heard that it was the Luciferian self-will rebellion of the cosmic overplus. That means basically this local universe. Now we're talking about 900 trillion light years of creation. This local universe of this small group of 1,000 galaxies has a particular attribution to it called a cosmic overplus. It means the intelligence factor is higher biased in this area than anywhere else.
So we're smarter.
No, well,
No, we're more duped. I'd say we're more duped.
And that could make you dumber. You know what I mean? That's basically what happened to Lucifer. He was endowed with a higher intelligence factor to be able to handle the higher intelligence factor of this overplus.
Right.
The overplus is because the new super universe, the eighth super universe that's bifurcating off this one, this local universe is the bifurcation point. The local solar sector of 1,000, the local universes are themselves, galaxies are built on building blocks of what's called solar sectors. That's 1,000 solar systems. Ours is Orion, that's the headquarters. Lucifer was the first level Lanadonadic, can't even say that right, Lanadonadic sun who administered Orion. That meant that through his consciousness he was capable of building stars and planets and keeping them all together. All right? Okay. And this local universe had a cosmic overplus because the first new super universe that's, the age that's bifurcating off now is based on the factor of intelligence.
Okay. Yeah.
The original first super, say I'm stepping way outside of the 18 dimensions so on with this, but the first super universe ever created was biased on the side of intelligence. That meant that intelligence was in proper amount, but substance and energy were diminished. The bifurcated one off that was energy. That meant energy was regular, but substance and intelligence were diminished, and so on and so on and so on. So the first new super universe is going to go in the same progression. So the first new super universe is on intelligence.
Okay.
But we are in the seventh super universe, which is triune, meaning that intelligence and energy systems are all equal. So in order to have a intelligence factor in the new universe, it had to be raised. And it was called the cosmic overplus.
So what?
Just this local universe has
okay,
the cosmic
so
overplus.
how did we? You had mentioned that humans should not be in third and fourth dimension.
No, the bottom
so
line
is
is
what the heck
creation.
happened?
Well, again, my problem is I got so many wormholes I can go on. I'm afraid I'll never get back. But here, that's a good question. What happened is that Lucifer set up. He saw that he could use the overplus attribution to be able to bring consciousnesses down into the third dimension and evolve them faster. Because evolutions or populations can only exist in the frequencies of visible light, and they're the same as musical notes of like middle C, upper C, higher C, da da da. The visible light spectrums are the same. So the fifth dimension is visible light, seventh dimension is visible light. That's in the outer creation. Then you go to the inner creation. You have ninth visible light, 11th, and then paradise, which is 13th. But the third dimension down here also works together as a triune factor, and it can support a manifestation in visible light. So Lucifer saw a way of using Lucifer saw a way of using the cosmic overplus to be able to bring evolution down into the third dimension, figuring because it's a very harsh environment. Very, very harsh environment.
No
very,
kidding. I think we can all tell you that.
Anyway, and evolve them faster, but he was told not to proceed because there were things coming, i.e. now, 5 billion years later, because we're just now starting the bifurcation, okay, that his ideas would short circuit. So the fall of pride was he said, well, I'm going to go ahead with this anyway. He put together what's called a manifesto, the Luciferian manifesto, and he said, I rebuke the higher commands above me. I think you're all self-made, blah, blah, blah. I can do whatever I want. Through these principles I've created, I can serve self rather than the creators. So it became a self-will. That's what it means, the Luciferian self-will rebellion. And they tried to set up a whole new universe of their own that was freed of any of the responsibilities.
So
to
now,
the creators.
but Del Nova,
And it
you
costs a
have,
lot of-
but
it
you
costs a
have
lot
to
of
know
headaches.
that even from a source level,
Yeah.
he couldn't do anything that that wasn't permitted.
Free will, this is the question. Free will, no matter who you are, how you are, what's going on, is always allowed for the following reason. If you don't have will and desire in proper proportion, you don't have your energies correct. So free will always lets you choose to do what you're supposed to do in order to have the correct component of desire. Now, in the higher dimensions, nobody usually ever goes outside that line. Even creator son daughters who are the highest in creation still have free will to do what they want, but they always sort of.
But Lucifer didn't. He went outside the lines.
Lucifer got carried away. I mean, Lucifer
Got an ego.
Well, yeah. Well, the self-will is the outer ego. That's the whole point. In your consciousness right now, you have an inner consciousness matrix, which is your higher soul atom self. Mm-hmm. You have an outer consciousness matrix, which is your physical body and all that involved, which generates a outer ego consciousness.
Which caused a lot of headaches, that you said.
Yeah. In the higher dimensions and up, the inner and the outer are generally usually balanced, all right? In the evolutionary levels, like the root race, the outer consciousness part is diminished in the spiritual or the Christ factor. The whole purpose of the fifth dimension is they go through numerous incarnations, learning a bit every time about who and what Christ is. Okay, once they've reached the proper level of evolution on a particular planet, and don't forget, all the planets are doing that. Every star in every galaxy has a family of 12 planets, not necessarily that they've been brought forward yet, but they have a matrix to hold 12 planets. So that's a lot of planets.
So, so go ahead.
All right, so just to finish quickly.
Sorry.
So the root races are diminished in the spiritual factor to learn it, all right? Then they're sended up into the seventh dimension where they start to learn how to do it. When that's finished, they're back up into the inner creation, and then they're up into paradise to get trinitized. So on Earth, you had the Adamic race until 3.5 million years ago were in the fifth dimension and progressing, and they held the additional responsibility of taking Earth through these big changes that are coming. But through the Luciferian
side
bullshit, excuse me,
detour.
They started to experiment in this third dimensional thing that he was on about. Now that reverses your polarity from the creation to the creation, from the creators to the creation, and pulled them in like a magnet. So the Adamic root race has been trapped in the third dimension ever since.
Is that us?
That's us. Now, you're not an Adamic. Adamics are the Asians all the way. But right from that point forward.
Wait a second, Adamics are the Asians?
Yeah, the Asian race are the Adamic race. There's 10 billion.
Are we talking South Asian too, or just Asian? Asian.
And
East Asian or South
Asian? East Asians, the Philippines, Koreans, I mean that.
They're
Chinese.
the Adamic
The
race.
Chinese,
So
yeah.
was Jesus, you're saying Jesus was Adamic race?
No, Jesus was a, from that point on, volunteers from all over creation have been volunteering to come in and help stabilize, to keep the planet stabilized, and help eventually to bring the Adamics back up into the fifth dimension, which is now starting to happen. There are millions and millions of people here from all over creation. They are highly honored because they have incarnated into the face of certain uncertainty. I love that expression, certain uncertainty, to be here, because you don't know what you're going to face when you get here and incarnate.
Hell yeah.
And I mean, some really great souls have had some really bad incarnations, like Muammar Gaddafi was a great soul, but you could see that.
Can we talk about Hitler?
Well, Hitler, we could, but we.
Is he a
there's an
great
X
soul or
factor.
not? Because is he a great soul or not?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean he's one of the voluntary, but he's not one of the, you know.
I mean, someone to come and do what he did, like
Yeah.
that's a pretty brutal.
Well,
Build the Autobahns.
yeah. Well, see, that's the other side of the coin too, and this is again. So all of the stuff I'm talking about, I'm just talking thumbnail at the best. It's all in here in the Revelatorium of Alpha and Omega, available for sale. Here's my pitch on Amazon.
Guys.
In detail.
Do you have links to your website?
There's a Revelatorium.com
.com.
also exists, and it's more or less the same as the book.
And they can buy the book there too.
Well,
from that
there's a link
website?
there called Books, and you can go up there and buy
Okay,
it from that.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
Yeah, of course.
So it's all in there. So what's going on then?
No, what I want to know.
All right,
If I read this book, am I going to understand the heck?
I'm at a fork in the road. I can go, huh?
We're bifurcating.
Okay, well, I look at this book and I'm like, okay, I don't know what.
Wait a second.
How am I even going to understand
Don't worry,
this
there's the
book?
book right there. Buy the book. I want to read this
Am I
book.
going to by osmosis understand the entire universe through
two
this?
things. First of all,
No, 'cause-
people have problem reading it because it's actually written in a fifth-dimensional language. Now, it's English. It's English. But there are words in there you've never seen before, and there are sentence constructs that you've never come across before.
Oh, well,
because the Revelatorium doesn't argue for things, and it doesn't present a personality point of view. So it's just fact. Every sentence is a fact. Just boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
And there's 360 pages of it.
Okay.
But, and here, if you read the chapter, I can't even remember what it is, it's 22 or something, or 23, on the crucifixion of Christ, it brings through a whole pile of information that you haven't heard yet before, but doesn't bring in a lot of the higher level concepts and so on that you would find befuddling. If you read the next chapter, which is the Revelations, and again, it's from a new point of view, spotted as unto a leopard. Well, Europe is 35 or 40 different countries. The consciousness in every country is completely different, absolutely different, even a mile apart, like Germany and France, spotted as unto a leopard. Okay, the feet of the bear wasp, a huge Russian landscape. From out of the mouth of the lion has come English language because it's the fifth dimensional language that's being brought down now for the next 2,000 years. It has been spread to all corners of the planet. So there's just that's not what you read in Sunday school and 10 o'clock in the morning.
No
So,
kidding.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen?
Well,
Okay.
for you as an individual, one of two things. At the end of 2,000 years from now, you're either going to be accepted enough in consciousness of your responsibility for why you volunteered to come and what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, everybody that's in this voluntary status, and the Adamics raise back up that you're back in the fifth dimension. Okay, after coming in through Capricorn. If not, you're going to be taken off to one of the other planets that got affected in this local universe by the Luciferian contamination. Out of all of the stars in all of the galaxies with all of the planets, you had a long day, and I'm not even going to go there.
No, just keep going. Keep going.
No, wait a
Anyway,
second.
of all the stars in all the planets and all of the stars in all of the galaxies, 1,000 galaxies, the local solar system, only 27,000 in all ever got touched.
27,000
the administrators listened to Lucifer and to death. Satan, by the way, was a third level Radionnic planet, and it was the female side, not the male side, that took the manifesto to the planets. Okay? 4,000, I guess, her soulmate half, her male half, incarnated as King Solomon. Now, he was given 100%, huh?
Satan's soulmate?
Soulmate half, yeah. Now,
Okay,
he wasn't
yeah.
he wasn't part of the Satan that was causing the problems.
Okay.
But he was a soulmate half. He was given 100% facility through the fourth dimension to work with. He was able to bind the demons, do all these kind of things. But he couldn't get over his carnal condition, which caused a lot of problems. He's reincarnated again in the current cycle and founded a love society down in Love something or other, Colorado, called the Emissaries of the Divine Light, which is based on free love. Still the same problem going on. Satan, the lady, was brought out of, allowed to incarnate 1,000 years ago into the quiets of Africa. Okay, remember it said that it'd be released from the pit and blah, blah, blah. Well, that happened. And it was over, for the last 1,000 years. And David Livingstone, the explorer, the reason he went into the bowels of Africa and disappeared for a while was because he hooked up with her and brought her, he didn't bring her out, but he hooked up the energy alignments and everything with her so she could reincarnate now into the Western world with those higher energies and higher frequencies, which she did, at the beginning of the century. She's now passed away, but in 1995, she returned to the feet of Christ and brought all her people with her. So that's, people say, they're talking about a ghost. Literally, they're literally talking about a ghost.
So I want to ask you, we talked about the Christ figure. How about Buddha?
Well, Buddha, remember I said that Earth is going to become a radiant quasar piping energies into the new creation in Andromeda? Well, he who sat as Buddha and also founded the Essenes that Jesus was raised under, Mary and Joseph were both Essenes, is the soul atom that's going to be the quasar when it's ready to go. So, see, everything's going on, nobody knows about it, and to bring that up to date, now he's incarnated right now, living a fairly quiet, incarnation.
Does he know he's Buddha?
He knows, he knows he's he knows he was Buddha, whoopee-doo. He knows he was the scene guy, and it's whoopee-doo, but he knows he's also the quasar, eventually, okay? Jesus,
so
2,000 years ago.
Go ahead.
All right, we still want to get back to finish that off. When a root race evolution under normal circumstances is ready to make the step up into the seventh, they finish their evolution, then a paradisical triune being will incarnate into their midst for 1,000 years as their Christ. It's called a Christ bestowal. They teach Christ and they show them what Christ is and how to do it and how then they move up and start doing it. Okay? Now, Jesus, the creator, son, daughter of this local universe, Christ Michael he's called, the Michael angel in the Bible, the angel Michael, this is Christ Michael. The creator, son, daughter will do one bestowal out of all of the millions and billions that will be going on in their local universe. They'll do one themselves because of their own expansion to come. And so Christ Michael bestowed 2,000 years ago as the man known as Jesus, his soulmate half, and I want to mention that too, soulmates.
Is this a twin flame? Is this the twin flame thing that people talk about?
Well, no, the twin flame, because there is a twin flame. This is because some of the people going into the new creation are carrying a Christ triune flame from the matter universe, and they'll also be carrying a Christ triune flame from the antimatter universe.
Okay.
So that's the twin flame, the twin ray children of the breath. That's what they're called, the twin ray children of the breath.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now there's few are incarnated now. Most of them haven't a clue, but that being as it said, their higher consciousness is doing whatever. So here's the thing: what you're doing here, sitting right now, having an interview with me sitting here with our reality atoms are out doing who knows what, but it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. You're actually here. This is pretty good. Doing this kind of stuff is right in line with this, and right in line with the age of Aquarius, setting up the new frequencies of consciousness. You're helping raise the consciousness of the planet by doing this.
But what if I don't want to be on Lucifer's team? What if I want to be
Well, you're not on Lucifer's team. Lucifer's out of business. Lucifer himself has been on Zab for 3-4 million years in solitary confinement. Now the news there is that he is finding when a soul atom has an x-axis and a y-axis of frequencies, the x-axis is in the Akashic record holds their attributions, what they're given with at birth. They're going to be a descendant being like Lucifer was, or like whatever, an Adamic, whatever, plus all of their experiences and so on, whether they're because you're also born with cosmically, you're born with one of the 12 birth signs. People incarnated at this particular cycle because it's a nexus point, are more or less in their cosmic. I'm a Pisces, but my soul atom is a Pisces. Whatever you are now, very likely that's what your soul atom is. The next incarnation, then it's all off over the map again. But right now, at this particular incarnation period, you're more or less in your cosmic rate. So anyway, see here, I broke my train of thought.
What we were talking about? We were talking about, I think we had mentioned, we were back to Christ, weren't we? Christ consciousness?
Yeah, all right. So the creator, Michael of this local universe did the bestowal on Earth. But because the evolution was down in the third dimension, it took place in the third dimension, not the fifth where it should have taken place.
Okay.
Okay? He was to He was to have walked as an avatar for 1,000 years. That's the original plan. He accomplished everything on his plate before the crucifixion occurred. He'd anchored the law. He'd beta tested the physical bodies, because Adam and Eve brought through a new human body DNA form 25,000 years ago at the beginning of this last 25,000 year cycle. That was the Garden of Eden. Okay? But the Garden of Eden was defaulted, again, by Luciferian meddling. And so the original plan of introducing the higher DNA genes into the planet didn't occur the way it was supposed to. The miracle is that it finally got there anyway, because Jesus incarnated. He was able to transfigure. He was able to resurrect in a fifth dimensional Morontia form, which is what will happen with everybody at the end of Aquarius going into Capricorn. He will come back into Morontia fifth dimensional form. He beta tested and proved that things were ready to go. All right.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing was that the hope had been that he could at least establish a toehold in the really, really spiritually corrupt environment at the time, which he did. I mean, it was a very small toehold, but it was sufficient to bring us to this point today. Now, we could be a lot worse. Oh, I know what I wanted to say beforehand. 27,000 planets got some kind of, some levels of contamination. Only 2,500 planets out of that whole group actually ever had a third dimension established on its surface. We're one of them. We're not the worst. We're not the best. We're about 10%. Things could be a lot worse than they are here, and they are in some places. They could be a lot better. There's a planet in Antares that's right up the top of the 49th.
Do they have humans on that planet?
Well, they have the equivalent of humans. See, here, this you can understand.
Humanoids.
Yeah. Well, no consciousness. See, here's the thing. This is the miracle of creation that few people don't understand. You can understand that people in Africa, people in China, people up in the Arctic, people down in South America, in the deep South, wherever, all different cultures, all different. There's 3,500 different cultures and races and so on. But the consciousness is the same. Your consciousness works no differently than mine. It just has different edges on it. Yours is no different than ours. Every consciousness on the planet works the same way. That's the whole principle of the only begotten son-daughter spiritual factor. Okay? Throughout creation, there is only one consciousness. And the consciousness is called Christ. That's what Jesus was teaching. That's why he's called the Christ. To teach that Christ consciousness. How to do it, how to be it, what it is, da-da-da-da. There is no difference between, the idea of aliens from other planets is really almost non sequitur, because there are some planets out of the 2,500 that have caused some problems, all right? But Armageddon is the next big cosmic thing that's going on with Earth right now. We're in the cleanup, in the aftermath of the rebellion, which was ended 2,000 years ago. I mean, in the Bible it says Christ said, "Satan, get thee behind me." Well, you can imagine that he said a lot more than that, because from his humble little toehold on the surface of the planet, he sent out an edict that went to 1,000 galaxies and said, the rebellion is ended, that's it. And so Earth was put into a quarantine so that the UFOs from the other planets that were here coming and going at will, they can't get out past the radiations of the Van Allen belt. They prevent them from doing teleportonic jumps. Now those are still up there. They've been cut off for 2,000 years. They don't know what's coming in now because they have no contact with that at all. They are contacting humans. They're the abductors. They're trying to find a way, because they know the DNA is better. They're trying to find ways to...
Our DNA is better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, see, the DNA that was introduced by Adam and Eve, which is now starting to come in now, is capable... when man went into the third dimension 3.5 million years ago, they went into the matrices of the animal kingdom, right? Which is carbon-based. 80% of all animals are carbon-based, okay? And we went into the same matrix. We have lungs, heart, everything the animal has, we have. All right. We have a higher consciousness because animals don't have a higher consciousness. Their consciousness goes up to the fifth dimensional frequency, but it doesn't go up to the sixth dimension, which is creative, and it doesn't go up to the seventh dimension, which is spiritual. But they're very intelligent in the fifth dimension.
Doesn't everything all blend in at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Aren't we all everything anyway?
Alpha and Omega is all there is. There is nothing else.
So aren't we all there is?
Yeah.
At the end of the day?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's beyond Christ then?
Well, what's beyond Christ? I wouldn't say.
Bad question. We withdraw the question.
No, I wouldn't withdraw it. I'm just saying that let me go to the dimensions. That'll answer your question.
Okay, let's go to the dimensions. I'm ready to go.
I've sort of half answered 20 questions so far. The other half are sitting out there. Read the book.
Okay.
Anyway,
there's probably a million questions in this book
probably
that are
thousands
answered.
anyway. There's thousands. So there's 18 dimensions in creation.
Okay.
Not creation, wrong. There's 18 dimensions in reality. Reality is the word that's been given to mean the whole thing.
Who's giving you this?
Well, I can probably tell you 30 different people.
Beings, you mean, not people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have
I know a
names?
lot of it has come from the Melchizedek words in the Magellanic Clouds, because I'm on the same frequency as John the Divine.
Okay.
Everybody
You're on
has
the same-
different.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that much.
Dimensions of reality.
But I know also that I've had straight through communications from Christ Michael, who is back, and this is important. If you read the last chapter 39 of the Revelatorium, it's called the Heavenly Host. The revelations in the last page say, when he returns, he will cometh with clouds. All right? Did I show you that? Did you see that thing on my...
No.
I didn't see it, but you mean the Magellanic Clouds?
No. I took this leaving Brantford this morning.
Oh.
I don't know if you're going to be able to get this up on camera or not, but
Well, we can probably figure something out.
I don't know if I should...
Yeah, pull
This
it
is
up.
a side. This is a side.
Sure, but it's an illustration.
Well, this sets up this chapter because he's back and he has cometh with clouds.
Okay, get it up.
Cloud
and-
technology.
All right, I took this leaving Brantford this morning to come here.
I'm being silly.
Let me
Now,
pull it up.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I think I showed it to you out
Here
there.
it is.
Now, here's the thing about that's interesting. If you'll notice, those magnetic lines come to an apex. Somebody said, "Oh, those are chemtrails." Well, they're not. They meet about 10, 15 off the horizon. Okay. Chemtrails meet at parallax at the horizon. There's your distinguishing factor right there. Okay. What's going on there is that there is a fifth-dimensional radionic ship of light, scout ship, sitting there, which is putting out a magnetic field, and the Earth's ionic water vapor is passing through, because 20 minutes from now it'll be completely gone. 2 hours later it'll be back. Tomorrow it'll be gone. 3 days later it'll be back.
So who's doing this?
A scout ship is sitting there, all right, setting up a magnetic field, which will reflect in the clouds as the water vapors move through. And I happened to catch one. I stopped for a coffee at Tim Hortons. And I said, now, this is obviously from Brantford, because there was a water tower sitting right in the middle of it. I said, what a neat photo, see? Now, why, I mean, it's happening all over the planet. If you go to that chapter, you'll see stuff that's come in from Uganda. There's stuff that's come out of movies. They're there all over the place. He will cometh with clouds. Now, the point is that you have a positive pole sitting over there, 180 degrees in the opposite direction, and you very seldom see them at the same time, but you have a negative pole. If you follow the lines going way off to the side, they'll come back in to the ones that are going way off to the side over there. It's a magnetic field, no different than a bar magnet, sitting up there in the fifth dimension, and it's holding the field for the mothership, which is sitting right in the middle. Now, they're communicating with the voluntary. The voluntary, for the 99% of the time, have no idea that they're being communicated to, but they're being set up. I don't mean set up. They're being communicated what we need you to do next.
Just like you're being communicated.
That's right.
Just like you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the
now what they
dimensions?
do in the third dimension, if they get their higher atom gets a communication, they say, we need you to go to Toronto to meet this guy. Oh, phooey, I don't want to drive today. I want to go and watch TV.
Do you get to say, I want to have a beer instead?
Well, you can do that, but that's what I'm saying. What you do in the outer is conditional on how closely tuned you are to the inner, because the inner will always put through, this is what we want you to do, da, 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 da. When you incarnate, your soul atom sits outside till they're about 4 or 5, then it takes up residency in your pituitary gland. That's the Lord that sitteth upon the throat. The Lord within, blah, blah, blah. It's your own soul atom that's formed this incarnation, and we're going to get the soulmates on this one. I'm not going to let this one slide. Sitting in your pituitary, at the age of 12, roundabout, you're given an epiphany, which is to set you off on a spiritual path. Everybody can look back at the age of 12 and see something that really struck them, and it would be on a spiritual side of things. Everybody gets that. By the time you're 17, 18, you've either adopted the mentalized delusions career path, or you're still, like people are 30, still haven't settled down, still don't know what they want to do, but at least they're not nailed down. Okay? And these are the people that are still working with their intuition, and most of them eventually will get into this kind of stuff for a certainty.
I'm in that category.
Well, there you go. See, now I'm not even because we can take a long time doing this, but if you go back to the age of 12, you'll think about something. I know what mine was. I was sleeping, and all of a sudden it was like Star Trek. There was star charts and everything, and I could feel it. I could feel it that I was going through other parts of the galaxy, and then I woke up. I was only 12.
Well, you know what's really interesting? You mentioned the whole pituitary gland thing. There was a problem with my pituitary gland that was discovered at that age. There was an issue.
Yeah.
And I actually had to go to the doctors and all that. It was at 12 and 13 where those issues started. They said that there was something they couldn't identify what was wrong with my pituitary.
Well, it was getting going, but probably having some molecular problems from whatever.
Interesting.
You're getting a call.
Yeah.
But,
so
Delanovo, okay.
Soulmates.
Okay.
From the fifth dimension and up, soulmates like the only begotten / son, daughter. Soulmates, or not soulmates, but soul atoms are male, female together as one. There's a male conscious side, a female conscious side, but you're together as a single soul atom. All right. The animal matrices for planet Earth were based on a male outer atom, or male outer animal, and a female outer animal. Sorry.
Okay.
See? So when man incarnated into the third dimension, it was necessary for the atom to split into a male walking around part and a female walking around part.
Okay.
Whom God has united in heaven, let no man rend asunder, means that soulmate pair that divided should be working together. Jesus and Mary Magdalene worked together. You didn't know about Mary. She had a quiet part in all of that, but she was his soulmate half.
Okay, yeah.
Right? In the fifth dimension, you're one, but you had to split down here, and that's what soulmates are all about. Somebody says, boy, she's my soulmate. She's got the biggest, and he's got the nice. That's all part of the problem. That's all part of the problem.
Okay, can I ask a question then? Sure. How about same-sex couples?
Same-sex couples are a result of really severe imbalances that occurred during Atlantis. Now we're into Atlantis. 10,000 years ago, there's a spike in the frequency at the beginning of each new 25,000 years. Like we're going through a big spike right now. This is also part of the thing. But you also have a spike at the halfway point, which is when Leo comes in, because solar law is introduced during Leo. And Leo was at the time of Atlantis. That's why there's so much solar, sun god, all that kind of stuff, because it was an attempt to introduce to the third dimension, outer consciousness, solar law at the time. There's a planet that is still in existence between Mars and Jupiter called Maldek, which lost its outer body projection 2.5 billion years ago because of Luciferian yada. The Oort body is still there. That's what's holding the asteroid belt together. When the planet blew, and it was blown because it was a confinement planet, and some of the most contaminated soul atoms, fallen angels, if you want to call them that had started coming out of that whole thing, were confined to Maldek, and a large number of those were from the Draco solar sector.
Okay.
And a number of them started to work with the planetary law of the time, and then set up the frequencies for self, and became known as the Black Masters. All right, and they factioned and used lasers against each other, and the conditions of the planet were so abysmal that the atmosphere itself was explosive, and they blew the planet. Okay, this is 2.5 billion years ago. So the outer rock shards and everything, that's where you get those great big huge canyons charred through, gouged through Mars and the interior molten turned into blobs and so on. You've got them bombarding them, all over all of the different satellites and so on. The water vapors and stuff like that condensed and moved out to the Kuiper belt, which is outside of Neptune, which is sort of a softer comet type stuff. And then the airs and everything went all the way out past Pluto as the Oort cloud. Mm-hmm. So that's where those came from. They're the debris from the Maldek. 10,000 years ago, well, you could, by your Akashic record, you can be out of a incarnation for a long, long period of time and brought back in to where you left off. So, because of the stability that was being brought in through Atlantis, there's volunteers coming in, the endowments were being energized and so on. They brought the people from Meldic into Atlantis. They were called the Gentiles, which mean not of the planet. That's what
were
Gentile
they called?
means. Not of the planet.
Gentiles?
The Gentiles. Yeah, the Jewish, you're a Gentile. Well,
Right.
they're not of the planet either, so they have no right to anybody. You know what I'm saying? Sorry.
Where are they from?
Well, Israelis are part of the voluntary. I mean, they're all, everybody that isn't endowment is part of the voluntary.
So everybody who's not Asian.
Everybody who's not Asian is part of the. Except in Revelation it says Michael and his angels won a war in the heavens, and the dragon was cast into the earth. All right. In Armageddon, which is we're well into Armageddon. Armageddon is going on throughout all 1,000 galaxies.
Okay.
It's cleaning up the energy lines of the fourth and lower fifth dimension that got contaminated and so on. It's not a guy, 2 or 3 guys fighting swords on a hillside. Man always wants to take things really small and really local. We're talking about 1,000 galaxies, and we're talking about an interdimensional cleanup. So all of those that still had contaminated frequencies from the Luciferian rebellion have been gathered up as like an abomination or a collected, so on. And they're called the dragon because most of them are from the Draco frequency and cast into the earth. They've been incarnated into the earth because of the frequencies that are coming in now. Particularly, we're going into Aquarius. Particularly, we're going into the new day of creation. Particularly, we're going into Earth is now being fast tracked back up into a photostar 250,000 years from now. That's where a lot of the energy is coming in because that's a fast track. It's been delayed for 3.5 million years.
Okay, so Delano, we're all here to save the Asian race?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And essentially, that's about as true a statement as you can make. The casted dragon is what's caused the population boom.
Now? Okay, people talk about a depopulation agenda. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What about Bill Gates and his vaccines?
Michael is on his throne. Michael is back. The heavenly host is here.
Archangel Michael?
Huh? Archangel Michael is here. That was who incarnated as Jesus 2,000 years ago. I have a lot of problem with the Christian people. Oh, please, Jesus, Jesus. They're praying to somebody, an incarnation, an outer body incarnation 2,000 years and no longer exists. But Christ Michael is back. He was the soul Adam that incarnated.
So there's no depopulation going to happen? What about these vaccines in Fukushima?
Well, they're trying every way they can.
Overpopulation.
The vaccine stuff is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But don't forget, you see, the higher factors have the ability to, with a thought, change things. So they're keeping things manageable.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that after this, in fifth dimension, does time and space exist? The concept of time and space?
No, time and space, time, we're in a timeline. It's only in the third dimension when consciousness is in the third dimension that a timeline can even exist.
Wait.
So, wait. So you talk about 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Okay, but so you're talking 2,000 years in this particular
working within this particular environment under this particular.
Because I don't want to wait 2,000 years.
Well, you don't. Good luck.
What's going to happen?
2,000 years.
No, now.
Can we walk?
Well, I mean, first of all, everything is kind of conditional, but you have to know. See, BRICS is a Michael operation.
The BRICS of
The
Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
Yeah, well, in November, early December of 2012, a whole number of, this is through the fourth dimension, of the Electrochrist went out and talked to world leaders, world economic, all around the planet about a consolidated world cooperation for humanitarian
Yeah.
At the time, there were 4 countries united under BRICS. Now there's 188.
How come we don't know about it?
Well, you do.
Yeah.
Is Canada under it?
Yeah.
What about Putin?
Putin is one of Christ's people.
Okay.
Aha!
What about Obama?
Obama's not.
Aha!
But
I'm 2 for 2. I'm 2 for 2.
I have a mystery. I'm same with Bush. These guys, I think, may be doing what they were asked to do because the negative conditions that existed in Atlantis have to be brought forward now into the public consciousness for clearing. It's the same as homosexuality and all of that stuff.
Right.
Sodom and Gomorrah were not over there. They
Yeah,
were in
we're
North
there.
America, the cities of the plains. One was in just north of Spokane at the border of the BC border. The other was offshore Miami. Vice was up in Spokane, which was the sodomy side. Crime was down off in Miami, which was the Gomorrah side. Today, those two frequencies have been returned for clearing. The sodomy side is San Francisco, and the crime side is Chicago.
Wow.
What about Toronto?
Toronto is fine.
What about
why you're here.
what about Trudeau, the new Canadian
Trudeau-
government?
Trudeau's father was Pontius Pilate. That's why he had that imperial thing about him.
Oh yeah.
And laying one's life down for Christ doesn't mean taking a bullet. Now, 2,000 years ago, it was in his hands to exonerate Christ and free him,
Right.
but he chose to wash his hands.
Right.
So he had a responsibility to undo. You're responsible for your creation as long as it exists. So in this incarnation, he was in a position where, as head of the Liberal government, the issue of capital punishment was put on the table. And he said, he was asked, what would you do if your party votes for capital punishment? He said, well, if they do, I have no desire to be the head of that kind of a party. So he passed through the responsibility of undoing what he did 2,000 years because he stood up for Christ this time, in principle.
So how about his son?
Well, his son is probably okay. He's not.
But he's no Pierre Trudeau.
No,
Can
no. I don't think he has a. I think he's propped up.
We
You
don't
know,
have a
he's
lot of
propped up.
time left.
All right.
Okay.
But we got more questions. What about Fukushima and all that radiation stuff?
Well, that's a strike from the negative side, and I mean a big strike.
But how are we going to fix it?
Well, I think
Are
if
we
it hadn't
gonna
been
fix it?
already being taken care of to a certain point, the whole country would probably already be awash with radiation. See, that kind of stuff can be transmuted by a thought, but you can't do it completely because man has to undo what they've done. So you got to leave them something to undo.
Okay. So how do we
Simple as
get?
that.
Okay, this is the most important question of all. How do we get every person on the planet to go vegan?
To go vegan?
Yeah.
Talk a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So wait a second.
Now
This-
here's the thing, though. I'm not a vegan in the. I'm
No more
100%
slaughterhouses.
into health
No.
foods and all that kind of stuff. But I eat meat occasionally. You know, the proper way it's supposed to happen, and the way that it should have happened in the animal world, that the Luciferian. See, the animal kingdom was put on. Back to Meldick. When Meldick blew, one of the loosened satellites of Meldick smacked Earth. It was about a third the size of the Earth, and that dropped Earth from pure crystalline 12-strand DNA down to gross 2-strand, where it's been ever since. So a billion years ago, an evolution was started on its surface to slowly work the frequencies back up, and we're at that point now. 12-strand DNA crystalline is starting to come back in. Jesus was able to create a 12-strand DNA body in order to be a moronic being around for 40 years after his crucifixion. See?
Okay, so imagine, look at how much knowledge you have for this book. Imagine how much more knowledge you would have if you were vegan.
Well, I was going to say two things. Two things. This was said to me in 1971. He said, because I had already been studying and reading. I didn't read a lot, but I had read. And he said, you think you're a pretty hotshot. You think you know a lot of things. But he says, I'm telling you for a certainty, you're nowhere until you can sit in a restaurant and provide a pure enough feel that your brothers and sisters from the Radionnic ships can come sit down and have a cigarette and a coffee with you. And that
makes
just
sense to
blew
me.
away the entire,
That makes sense.
you can't drink, you can't smoke, you know, moderation, everything, but come down and have a cigarette and a coffee with you. So it's the same kind of thing with meat. The animal kingdom actually sustains on the dimension below, like the vegetable kingdom on the mineral kingdom, the animal kingdom on the vegetable kingdom, and where there's carnivores in the third dimension, like a deer that sees its time coming will offer itself up to the lion.
Yes, but we're not at that vibration.
We're not there yet, but it's starting to happen. Now
That's
you're
right.
starting to see more and more, by the way, you're starting to see, as our frequencies go up, the animal kingdom too, you're starting to see lions pal up with
Yeah.
You know, you're starting to see dogs and cats. You're starting to see birds. I mean, the animal kingdom's starting to partner up.
Now, isn't all the extinctions too? Like, there's a huge extinction happening too with
Well,
animals. And are they saying, look, I'm checking out. We're checking out of here because we just don't want to be part of this anymore?
No. See, it's again, it's sort of a difficult thing. It's hard to see that going on, but by the same token, the purpose of it is kind of reached its fulfillment. See, the reason for tectonic plate. See, when trees drop leaves, animal, you know, and over the centuries, over the thousands, it gets pushed lower and lower and lower, and converts in under heat and pressure into crystalline substances, limestones, granites, and stuff like that. So that's how the conversion of the original dross is being converted back into the mineral.
Right.
You know, because they radiate at higher frequency. The grass on your front lawn is inducting a radiation from the Adenic worlds of the Cygnus Swan constellation.
See?
Trees are inducting frequencies so the whole thing's going on. So the whole reason why the tectonic plates are because slowly this is now done. It's moved out of the way, and a new one. So we're now at the last phase of all that.
So what's going to happen?
So we all have to go vegan.
Well, what's going to happen is that we're looking at 2,000 years from now. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? How relevant is it going to be? I mean, for walking around on the planet, it could be, you know, it could look like really bad. It could look like really good. I mean, right now it depends on which way you're looking. Our Pythide's gone, you know, but you've got this encroaching New World Order crap, which is the Antichrist factor.
What can we do about that?
Well, stand up against it. That's all.
Vegan.
Just, you know,
okay,
just
and
stand
go
up
vegan
against
too.
it. You know, but where that all came from, when the Maldekians were incarnated into Atlantis, most of them were put into Sodom and Gomorrah because it was the farthest removed from the mainstay, which was the Big Island up the middle. All right, the Black Masters got going again and took over and corrupted the whole show. I mean, they, you know. And they created static fields over Sodom and Gomorrah, got the lasers going again, and when they fired them, there was the two explosions. These are the fires from heaven to earth. The flume from Spokane went south for about 150 miles. There's an enigmatic area just south of Spokane called the Palouse. And it's funny, it's on the map, but no, Appaloosa horse is from the Palouse. The Palouse is an area about 150 long, 50 or so, and it's all just funny little hills. It's got the richest soil on the planet, just about. The only type of soil like that that's in North America is 1,000 miles to the west into the prairies. But the wind blows from the west, so how did that get there? They don't know how that soil got there in the middle of the mountains in Spokane going south when the wind's not bringing any of it over.
Wow.
Okay,
See,
Delanova, this has been quite an experience having this conversation
Well, I'm hoping
with
you
you
have
today.
because I've just not even touched the
I
tip of the
know,
iceberg.
that's
do
what
this
I
again.
sense. I've still got more questions and answers, but many of the answers to these questions and more can be found in this book, The Revelatorium, which...
Revelatorium. By the way, I didn't coin that phrase. When I started doing this, you know, in about 3 or 4 days, I suddenly realized that I'd been writing the Revelatorium as the name, so it was given to me, just, you know, intuitively.
So we have to have you back.
There's the website, revelatorium.com, and yeah, we'd love to have you back because I still want to know what's going to happen.
Well, 2,000 years from now is when you got to worry, because you're either going to be back in the fifth dimension with everybody and working ahead, or you're going to be on one of the 2,500 planets that still are set for good. Earth is the beta. This is the other thing too. Earth is the beta test. You know, through the Armageddon action, it's the beta test. Things are tried here, and if they work, they're going to go elsewhere. The original Christ teaching of early 70s, which is the backbone. Actually, it was like the 5% of this, but it's the backbone. The Revelatorium now, as it sits, has gone out it's the fastest speed up to cosmic reality that's ever been put together in the history of mankind. Because usually, when the evolutionary learn, they learn these things over eons and eons of incarnations bit at a time. This was a fast speed up. It's gone out. There's other things that have already gone out.
Okay.
So this is the beta test. The Earth is the beta test for trying things to work out.
Well, that's fantastic.
So if the
Take a breath.
if the Antichrist ends up taking over, you know that's not going to go out.
Okay. All right.
I hate
Oh,
to
I
say it
see.
that
It's
way.
It's going to be a bug report.
It's got to be a bug
Bug
report.
report.
This
It's gotta
has
be a
been
bug
an
report.
absolute pleasure. It has been so much fun.
This was kind of fun.
I have no idea what we talked about,
Well,
but
you
it
asked
was
good questions,
fun.
and you didn't ask them in a hostile way, and that's just
course not.
absolutely good. Absolutely good. So
Okay.
you're
I'm just
doing a
going to
good thing.
beam out
You're
of the
doing a good
out of the
thing.
Thank
spaceship
you,
now. We're
Villanova.
just, yeah.
Really good to meet
Villanova,
you.
you're doing an awesome.
I
awesome
am.
thing.
All right.
I am.
Thank you.
I am blown away. I guess that's it for Liquid Lunch today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Actually, we'll be back tomorrow, but
With more good stuff.
more good stuff right here on thatchannel.com. We'll see you then, everybody.